My name is Susan Hayden. I am a clinical hypnotherapist and rapid transformational therapist. I have completed my diploma in strategic psychotherapy and clinical hypnotherapy. And my passion is working with predominantly ladies to help them unblock all the unhelpful patterns that are in their lives and from stopping them being their most fabulous self. I just love helping people just to really get through all the layers of conditioning that sit in our subconscious and to be able to facilitate the sessions so they can really just break through all those layers of conditioning and get out into their lives so they can just be the most effective and happy and fulfilled in the areas of their life that they want to be. So a client will have an external issue going on, something, say anxiety or weight, or there might be a fear or a phobia, and that will lead them to looking for a solution. So when I'm working with a client, what we're doing is we're working out where they're not very effective in their life. So we all have the resources within us and we are the ones doing the healing. I am facilitating the process. And ultimately what we want to do, so the permanent solution is there for the client, is that they're accessing what is already within them and just changing, tweaking that subconscious pattern process that's keeping them defaulting to that same, outdated program, if you like. So I like to explain it like we're a computer, and with your computer, you are constantly updating the software, you're shutting it down, you're letting it have a reset and a reboot often. But within our nervous system, we're not often able to do that, or we just really don't know how. We don't have the tools to do that for ourselves. So coming into hypnosis, it's a natural state that we're in and out of throughout the day. We are all familiar with it because when we drive a car or when we're doing something that we've practiced a lot, essentially that is accessing that trance hypnotic state. So when we're doing it in the clinical sense, what we're doing is helping the client just become really effective in that area. We're not looking at all the other parts of their life. So we're getting to the root cause of whatever it is, the belief, the program that has held them back. And just like the computer, we're rebooting and we're reprogramming. And neurologically, we're rewiring that so those effects are long-term. So it's so fulfilling for me to be able to facilitate this with anyone. Like predominantly I work with women, but I also work in sports performance. When we're working in sports, there's that area that that person wants to really enhance, refine, get better. I do work with teens as well. They're really, really fun to work with because when we can get the mind, especially in that very vulnerable stage of the teen years, that can often lead on to other mental health crises if sort of left unattended. So when we're working with the teens, we're able to get them to recalibrate and to really understand like the process of the mind, that they're actually in control. They're the ones that actually have all of the processes within them. But when they're at school, they've got so much information and they're being led through the world. So it's really empowering that they get to see that they actually are the ones that are fully in control, as is when we're working with anything else. I do really enjoy working with the teens. And then the ladies, it's just amazing that there's lots of things, lots of experiences that we have in our life. Not all of them are great, and they do leave impressions within our subconscious programming. The deeper that impression is, then the worse the effect can be in our sort of day-to-day live. So what we want to do, again, is reprogram and rewire that, but neurologically have that new pathway really set in. So that is the pattern that we're then following, and we don't want to be defaulting back to the old program, which is generally where people, that's where they're coming in. They have the issue, they need to get that sorted in their life, and also it can be used for many other things, improving your memory, improving health, sales performance. There's all sorts of things. I typically tend to work around the areas anxiety, weight, addictions, and the sports. And I have great success. I use different tools. Rapid transformational therapy is also the method of hypnotherapy that I use. That is, I was taught that through Marissa Peer. So she's basically taken her whole life's work and made her own system, if you like, in hypnotherapy. So there's lots of ways to get to the same outcome. So it's really just consulting with the person, finding out what their goals are, what they're working on, and what will suit their lifestyle and their needs the best, and then we choose which method that we're working with. Hypnotherapy is different from meditation. Meditation tends to be more of an outward focus, so you're focusing on something sort of outwardly, whereas hypnotherapy is an inward process. We are all in and out of hypnosis throughout the day. It's just that natural state, and we don't realise how we put ourselves into a trance, or society programs us in a way, school, work, family, friends, colleagues. It's human nature that we want to follow the pack, but when that isn't working for us, then we need to make some adjustments. So hypnotherapy lands really deep because you are working with that unconscious programming that sits in the background, and it's really the driver of our lives. We're doing everything automatically. 95% of our life is just that automatic. We get up, we brush our teeth in the same way, we get dressed the same way, repeat. So we don't want to be going about anxiety the same way, or the weight, or whatever it is in those areas that are not working for us. And so it's relieving the nervous system, helping it get out of that fight and flight mode so it can settle down. We're not scanning the environment, we're not hyper aware, hyper sensitized to everything going on, that we can actually take our thoughts on, have an awareness behind them, see what's helpful, see what's not helpful for us, and then therefore we get to create like a whole new way of life, really. So hypnotherapy is essentially, it's the therapy that's delivered while you're in hypnosis. And that's where the strategic psychotherapy comes in. So there's many ways of accessing that state of hypnosis. There can be conversational hypnotherapy, there can be the hypnotherapy in session style, there's stage hypnosis that a lot of people are familiar with. So in stage, they're basically showing you the power of your mind, how suggestions can be given to you, and then if you accept it, away you go and act with whatever directive that you've been given. But in a clinical setting, what I'm working out with a client, I'm listening to all of the linguistic cues, so the cues in their language, and that's guiding me towards where they're not being very effective in their life, and where we can give them processes that they generally don't have for that specific area in their life, and then we're giving them the process. So when that is delivered during hypnosis, it just lands really, really deep. Really, really deep. Nobody really quite knows how, because there's no part of the brain per se that this is where hypnosis is, or so to speak, but it's the therapy that's delivered in hypnosis which has a really deep lasting impact. So people do think that they are being controlled in it, but in actual fact, they're already being controlled by their thoughts. So this is just that external help to guide them to where they want to go. So no, that's an absolute myth. You cannot be controlled in hypnosis. So yeah, that's just a no. Well, I think everything essentially is connected. We're holistic beings, mind, body, soul. There's no separating any of that. So anxiety is really big these days, unfortunately. That comes from all the news, from all of the input that we have externally. Again, parents, family, all of that conditioning thrown at us, but there's an anxiety to the addiction, there's an addiction to the anxiety. The body actually gets used to doing the anxiety as well, so it's actually getting a person comfortable because they get so used to that. Yeah. So, yeah, anxiety is rampant, unfortunately.
I never thought about it that way.
Yeah.
Anxiety and addiction.
Yeah, because the body essentially gets addicted to those chemicals that are being released, which is the high cortisol and the adrenaline and things. The body gets so used to that when it's not doing it, it's like, oh, I've got to relearn how to relax.